Hey everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. Of course, it is Joe and I once again joining you for our misadventures slash adventures. It is, of course, March 14th, 2020, and I think I have the wrong show number. I do, it's 141. We'll update that.
How dare you, sir?
Let's update it now. I'm just going to have to update it in the login.
Yes, I see it's now updated, yes.
Yeah, I forgot to update that. I put the... No, even the right date isn't on there. Oh my god. I'm so bad today. I put it in there, and I solely forgot to update it at all. Because I got distracted by, like, setting up other stuff.
What are we going to do with you?
I don't know. Nothing good. Nothing good at all. So, yeah, if you're joining us, we do have an interesting docket to talk about today in the world of tabletop. We're going to talk about a Magic Gathering secret lair. We've never talked about secret lairs. We'll talk about a little bit then, and this Ultimate Edition that's coming out. Starfinder has a new book called Near Space that's talking about planets, a bunch of new planets. The game Stellar has been announced by Renegade Game Studio. Infinity Gauntlet Love Letter by Zman Games, which is both love letter and not love letter, and it's kind of weird sounding.
Can I write a love letter to Thanos?
I guess you kind of are. Through your fists.
Does that mean we're Lady Death?
No. It's supposed to be like an all-verse, one version of love. It's weird. And we'll talk about Fairy Tale Inn, which has been announced by Cmon Games. And finally, the Friday the 13th horror at Camp Crystal Lake by Usaopoly. Because, you know... And then, of course, we have our regular segments that we will kind of hit up into. Let's start with the top of the list, though, because, well, I mean, first off, how's your week been going, Joe? My week has been going okay. My plague continues, but I finally made that doctor's appointment.
Yay! I'm work from home for the next month because coronavirus has closed down, like, my whole area.
Oh yeah, you're in Montgomery County. They really shut you down. My niece's schools just shut down as a precaution, even without the big order, and sent her home like a tablet to learn on. I'm like, yeah. They can afford a tablet?
We're closed down for our office is closed for a month.
Yeah,
so we're working from home for a month.
You are right on the border of Montgomery County to Bucks County, and Montgomery County is like completely shut down. I don't even know. I haven't heard if there's any updates from the governor about bigger shutdowns.
Yeah, and grocery stores are ridiculous.
Yes, which
Walmart looked like it was going out of business. That's how empty the shelves were. So fun.
Yeah, no, and I'll be checking some of that out at a local store this afternoon because I do have to go out for a couple of things. Nothing critical, fortunately, as I've said, but you know, it's the fact that I do want to get a couple of things like some orange juice. I don't think orange juice has been sold out, and if so, I'll just take a crap brand. I usually go for what's ever on sale or what's decent. You know, so orange juice is orange juice in my book, but
right.
Anyway, yeah, so that's our existences. Which we'll probably talk a little bit more about in different things later on, like our week in gaming. But for now, let's talk about Magic the Gathering, because we want to talk about secret lairs. So, the thing is, if you're unaware what a secret lair is, for the majority of the time now, Magic's online store, effectively, I think it's online store? Like, they've been selling it online. These little collections of cards. Usually they're premium. I have been keeping an eye out, occasionally checking up on them. Not all of them, but I occasionally watch some of the stuff that the Tolarian Academy does, the professor, because he does some stuff on Magic, and, you know, that's a good way of checking up on stuff. And, like, I like it when he grades things, and he's graded a couple of layers that some of them are worth your money, some of them are not. You know, it also depends on, like, how many you need. Like, some of them are weird. This one's an actually interesting one that I wanted to talk about, because this is the thing. It's local game stores instead of online.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's goddamn fetch lands. Which, like, I've heard in the Magic community, that's been a complaint that fetch lands are never reprinted. These are the things that are like, you never get reprints of that people like because these are very good in basically any edition that they are legal in. If you're playing Modern, great, you could use it in your Modern deck. If you're playing Legacy or Vintage, great, you could use it then. Commander, great. All those standards, they're very good in.
I'm just wondering. I would say it's going to depend on what the price is.
Yeah,
and
price is going to be heavy.
The display box is a bit ridiculous.
All the secret layers have stupid display boxes like this. They really do. If you ever see any of the other secret layers,
right? But it's just I'm like it's 5 lands and it's in this like ultra nice box. Each freaking card has its own little spot in it, and it's padded. And I'm like, who's going to keep it like that? If you're buying this, you're probably buying it because you want the lands.
Oh god, yes. You're buying it because your decks need these lands. Maybe you don't need all of them, but the fact is they have value. I'm really going to be curious how much it is going to go for online. This is going to make a big difference, because these things are pretty expensive. Now, granted, like, it sounds like it's this entire thing that I know that Wizards denies the secondary market. They just basically put their fingers in their ears and ignore the secondary market.
Yeah.
And this is very interesting because if you look at, like, the main article which this was announced in, they say that they're going to put them out again. And I think in the Commander decks that are coming out this year, it sounds like they might have fetch lands also, which is going to make those rise in price a lot. These things are going to have a lot of, especially in secondary resells, if you can't get these for the base price, even soon after they're released, some of these might jack up in price, anything like this. Because places will go to what the market says, especially since there isn't an MSRP anymore. They got rid of that. Well,
and the thing is, copies are limited. Stores will typically receive no more than 10 copies of the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who has big bucks and they go and buy multiple copies, it's going to drive up the price too, because people are going to be like, well, now I wasn't able to buy it, so I have to look on the secondary market.
Now, granted, they're saying, I don't remember how it worked. There was a Secret Layer Super Drop they're going to do a week after they go stales in the local stores. They did this in December. I remember them doing it, but I don't remember how it worked at all. And that's going to be closer to when this is released. This is May, too. So this is both a big thing, and then also, like, I don't know how this is going to go. The best thing about this is if, with these things out there in more numbers, I can only hope it will drop fetch land prices. I don't use them ever, but I can understand, like, controlling the market and making things not ridiculously priced. There are plenty of cards out there that if you look at their prices, and it's not because they're old, it's because of their use that they're ridiculously priced. Because they're good in so many decks. Because they're still good in Modern, Legacy, or Vintage actual tournaments. So...
Also, with the Super Drop, it says, if you purchase a bundle that combines each drop that goes on sale during the Super Drop, you'll receive a random fetch land for each bundle you purchase.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to this.
So that's going to be also a thing of people who have the money are going to probably buy multiple bundles to get those extras.
Yeah. There's a lot of possible mess in this entire thing. The only thing is local game stores could control it because it is a limited thing. They might only do one per customer sales. You know, they could do that. And if they do that, there's a very little chance, unless someone really organizes something and pushes it, to get multiples. And you don't even know if it's going to be that. How are you going to grab like 10 of your friends and convince them to buy these things then too? You know, if you're all reselling for money, great. But, you know, that's not always the easiest thing to do. Or, I'm sorry, 9 of your friends.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. These secret layers have been weird.
Or if you have if you're in an area though that has multiple stores,
you can go to multiple stores. Yeah, like I know of like 3 or 4 stores I could go to. Granted, like picking up them all before it runs out, probably not. But if I could... That one, you could probably organize people to go to different places, maybe. You know? Okay, you hit this one up, I'll hit that one up, you know, things like that. I don't know. There's a lot about this that I'm happy about, but also, like, worried about because we don't know how things are going to happen when it comes live. But these secret lairs, people have been loving them and buying them up, mainly because, from what I've seen, Wizards manages to just barely, most of the time, have these things cheaper than on the secondary market. As if they're planning it and maybe actually know that the secondary market exists. Even though they deny its existence. Every time these secret lairs come out, they're like that. So of course they're popular. Of course they're selling like hotcakes. They're playing the goddamn market, it seems like. And I'm not against them playing the market. Again, this is value for people. Will it change the market in the long run? Probably. Is that good or bad? I don't know.
Right.
But it's a thing that's happening. So yeah, Secret Lairs with the Ultimate Edition with fetch lands. You can expect it if you want some fetch lands for your decks, because they are very good if you are trying to be competitive. The thing is, again, like, this is one of the reasons that even as a collector, I long ago said, screw special editions. If you get a special edition of something, great. If not, too bad. Because they come out with a billion of them, it seems, nowadays. And they came out with a billion of them long ago, too. And you can't get them all. But these are definitely special editions, so it's like you're getting them for the sake of collecting them, maybe, if you have the money, or for the sake of your decks.
Right.
So, the other interesting thing is that each of the lands is supposed to reference a different plane. That's kind of cool, that they kind of do that, just that they have an image that is supposed to reference them. So that's kind of cool that they're doing that kind of with the art style. I like that. That the Marsh Flats are supposed to represent, like, the appearance of Lorwyn, Dominaria for Scalding Tarn, Innistrad for Verdant Catacombs, Amonkhet for Arid Mesa, and Ixalan for Misty Rainforest. So, and the art looks nice, I have to say. So, the other thing that I have a complaint about this one is, because I've heard about this, is these are all supposed to be foils. Secret Lair foils curl like there's no tomorrow. That's the thing you have to worry about when you're using them in decks. Make sure you have in a deck box that keeps them flat, because they curl.
Yep.
A lot of foils do. It seems like foil magic cards have a curling problem in general. So, anyway, well, we'll move on, because there's weird, like, both support and complaints I could have for this topic for quite a while. So, but we do have more topics to talk about, and there's an interesting Starfinder book that is out that I wanted to have us discuss. They have Starfinder Near Space. So, it's expanding the universe of Starfinder, is the best way of saying it. They're adding dozens of new planets, civilizations of the regions of the galaxy, new spaceships. Basically, they're building a little bit more of a star map than they had before, which is cool. You know, Starfinder was limited in its... Oh, that's just not the right size. Popped into weirdness there. The image there. Like, when we think of it, like, we think of, like, Galarian and its nearby planets, which is, like, the core of Starfinder, because there's the entire thing of, like, in Starfinder, Galarian disappeared, no one knows where it is. There's a space station that, you know, probably orbited the planet that's now there, that, you know, is the kind of core of it, and then, you know, all the planets of the system, which, freaking all the planets are defined in Pathfinder. Because if you can magically teleport to transport to these places, you can go to them in Pathfinder. There's like a planet of the undead. I think one of them is like a giant like monster that's actually pretends to be a planet or something. There's a lot of weird shit in the Pathfinder like section. I think another is covered in like robots that worship like an AI or something. again, like, I also don't know. I had some secondhand knowledge of this and didn't read about some of them on my planet. So if some of these have been customized by someone for like a storyline that they were running, I apologize. But I know that, you know, like things like the planet of the undead are actually a true thing. There's like a necropolis planet, because in Starfinder they reference it with, like, you know, that there used to be a great war with the undead with their spaceships, and now there's like a tough peace with the current rulers of the planet, but there's still factions that, like, escaped after the war that are out in the universe. Because I think that first Starfinder adventure path, you find one of their ships, the old ships from the war. But, like, the example that the Near Space people give when the Paizo blog dropped is that they go on about the Verskelium system, but they include the Pact Worlds, planets discovered and colonized by explorers from the various civilizations that have been described in Starfinder. It is a big hardcover book for $40, which is not bad for a hardcover role-playing book. It's right in the right price. PDF's only $10. I mean, Paizo's like this one that they... a lot of people give PDFs for free. At least they don't charge too bad for PDFs, I feel like. Even
well, I can understand when it's a core book, you're not going to give it to... Or, you know, a book like this, you're not going to give it for free.
Especially for big numbers. It's just like...
Because then, why would you get, you know... Yes, it's nice to have the hardcover, but if you can get by with the PDF, why would you give them money? And then they're not making money.
Well, I mean, like, PDF for free if you get the hardcover.
Oh, if you get the hardcover. I'm sorry, yes.
That's what I was kind of implying.
I agree. That is nice when they do that, because it's like, well, you know, I already have the material. Why can't you just give it to me digitally too, since I paid for it?
Yeah.
But I understand it too. It's profit.
They're still better than Wizards is. I think their PDFs are much more closer to like 50%. 50%, maybe 70% of like the price or something. They're not.
Yeah, they're normally like $15 to $20.
Much more in comparison to the actual price. But they have a gazetteer of 9 worlds in the Vreskin system, interstellar empire founded by the warlike Vesk. Some entries on planets and civilizations in near space. Some new starships, alternate racial traits for playable races of the near space. Some themes, archetypes, equipment, spells. Character stuff. So, you know, most of these books do have some character stuff, and you're never going to get away from that.
Yeah.
But this is...
Well, I mean, it makes sense. You're adding some stuff to the rules. It gives you more playability with characters, you know, especially if you do a lot of one-shots or short campaigns.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, I've played a rogue or a fighter so many times. Oh, look, there's something new I can do with it.
Yeah, and new, like, and Pathfinder is really and Starfinder are really known for their variety. You know, like even Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I would call it variety. It's just it changed the way the variety works. You know, they just like made like it's class feats and racial feats and like skill feats and general feats and featy feats that all build the variety you're looking for. I don't know. I feel like Starfinder's interesting, and I like it. We've tried it once. I would like to do more Starfinder. I know only one of our one friend has it. It's just like, I don't know if I might get the book sometime to run it myself too. I don't know. Who knows?
No, I wouldn't be against doing some Starfinder.
Yes, I feel like Starfinder is a little comparable to Dark Matter, but I feel Dark Matter, though they make their explanation of everything as magic, they go more on the science rather than the fantasy, I feel like, you know? And this is a little bit... And Starfinder feels a little bit more balanced between the science and the science fiction and fantasy, I mean, you know? So it's like, it's your degrees, you know? And that can make a difference in the world you're building, the game you're playing, but there's still science fantasy. You know, I call them. But, no, Starfinder, a new thing that has some setting, is great. I think, like, because you have a space setting, I don't mind more setting books and stuff like this, you know?
Oh, yeah, because, you know, there's so many planets out there to explore, it makes sense.
I would not mind, like, on a very populated planet like Galarian, here's a book on that, you know? Granted, like,
Right.
we're getting a lot of these books on, like, this is a solar system and some other, like, some things in this near space area. You know, a galactic region of the Pact Worlds. You know, and then maybe that they're going to focus on books on the Pact Worlds and stuff like that. But, you know, there's a definite balance that I think they can kind of find that I'm going to be interested to see as they kind of build it.
Right.
So, yeah, that's Starfinder book here, Near Space. It's I think the PDF's available March 25th. I think you can get the hardcover now. So you could order the hardcover, or it might be appearing in stores soon if it isn't already out. I do like how Paizo does it in kind of a reverse order, where they throw out the hardcovers first in PDF. I don't mind that, you know, because it's like, again, like, they want to have the people that are actually buying the hardcover out first, and the PDFs for people that are just like, I just need something simple. No, I don't mind it. But why don't we, of course, though, move on, because we have some more topics to talk about, and that includes a game called Stellar by
this looks really cool.
Renegade Game Studios. Yeah. So it has a very, like, interesting look to it, no doubt.
The only downside, it is only a 2-player game.
Yes. 2-player games are, like, instantaneously, it makes it a little more difficult to, like, get behind it. But it's a $20 game, and that's not a bad price.
No.
For...
And it's a quick game. It's only about 30 minutes.
No, so this is something like, if you or your buddy are sitting down somewhere and need to get a little quick something or, like, distraction, that's not bad. Like,
no.
quick, simple 2-player games, I'm a lot more behind than, like, some of the epic 2-player games that take forever to do. Okay, so this is like, your star gaugers calibrating your telescopes to bring into view the celestial objects of various types: moons, planets, asteroids, interstellar clouds, black holes, even satellites, and creating a beautiful display in the night sky. So effectively, you're, like, building a night sky. I think the rule book is viewable.
It is. I have it open right now.
Okay.
It's 11 rounds. By the end of the game, each player will have transformed their telescope into a beautiful display of the night sky. In each round, both players will take one turn, first the start player and then the other player.
So I see. Each player gets 12 telescope cards, which they build in the shape, which has an image of someone looking through a telescope into the night sky, but you build it in the shape of, like, a telescope, so it's, like, small at the one end, big at the other end, and you put your celestial object cards onto it as you kind of build it.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rows.
Yeah.
2 rows of 2, 1 row of 3, and 1 row of 4.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So, yeah.
Oh, no, and 1 row of 1, I'm sorry, so there's 5 rows.
And I'm guessing, like, it's going to be about building. You know, you want to build certain types of things, because building the stuff together makes a difference.
I've looked over the rules a little bit. There's numbers on the cards that interact with each other.
Yeah.
So there's star icons on most cards. That's the base of what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's numbers in the left corner. That's a multiplier. And if you get multiple of the same number to either directly connecting to the other card, they multiply the star numbers.
And also looks like you want some diversity, too, because if you have all 5 types of cards, you get a bonus. There's, like, special section things. There's a lot of, like, interactions between the cards that, because you can play, it looks like you can place something anywhere, and it's sort of like you're building yourself up to your kind of star chart in an interesting way. There's probably some more details in the rules that we're not going to go into right now. But
one of the things I do love about it, because I'm a big space nerd, is they also have factoids on each of the cards.
That's cool.
Yeah, like the moon card, there are over 190 moons in the solar system that have been discovered so far. I did not know that.
Well, I know a lot of moons are very micro, or like very small, like objects that keep it, like, think about like how Jupiter and Saturn have a billion moons and stuff. Yeah. They have a lot of them.
Well, right, because it's just an orbiting mass.
Yeah.
I mean, But when you hear that number, it's like, oh wow, I knew there was a lot of moons. I didn't know there was over 100. There was over 190 of them. I just find that's interesting, and they have little factoids on every single card.
So I've had to look this up as how many things have moons. Earth is 1, Mars is 2. Jupiter has 69 moons. Saturn has 62.
Jupiter, stop 69 with your moons.
Then Uranus has 27, Neptune has 14, and then there are some dwarf planets.
Yeah.
That Pluto has 5 moons. And I didn't know about the other dwarf planets. There's Makemake, Ceres, Hamura, and Eris, and some of them have some moons too.
And Mars is home of the tallest planetary mountain in the solar system.
Yeah. Is it Mons?
Olympus Mons.
Olympus Mons, that's it.
Which is 21 kilometers tall.
That's a fucking big mountain.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it too. There's no water, so it's not, you'd be able to easily see it from the bottom all the way to the top.
Okay, there are more moons as of 2018, but most of them are like asteroids that have moons orbiting them. So they're really small. Apparently, they're closer to 350. It's just between the planets and the dwarf planets, there's 184.
Okay, but I mean, that's the thing is when they printed the factoids, that's at that time.
Yeah, this is again, I also am just looking up a 2018 chart or something of moon crap. That's a great way of describing it. Moon crap. I can't believe Jupiter has goddamn 69 moons.
That's a lot of freaking mooning.
I know. And also, oh yeah. Okay, there we go. Someone had to do it at some point.
Yes. Well, here's another interesting one. Satellites can travel up to 29,000 kilometers per hour, orbiting the planet 14 times a day.
Yeah. Again, it's if we actually calculate how fast we're moving through the universe, we're going at insane speeds, that we can't detect because it's the
just how fast the galaxy spins.
Yeah, how fast our galaxy spins. We spin around the Earth. Our sun orbits things. The galaxy moves because our galaxy's moving through the universe. It's not staying still, and all these together mean that we're just not traveling we're traveling crazy.
Yeah.
But no, this is a cool little game. Getting off of our insane speed side thing. The images are really nice looking. They are artistic views of things, which I don't mind, but they have an interesting backdrop of space, and they certainly do give some good examples on their page of some of these things, and they look very cool and neat.
Yeah, and the artwork's beautiful.
Yeah, artwork's just great. Artwork's just great. They do a good job, and they're only retailing it for $20. I mean, that's 2-player game area, and it sounds like one that is definitely replayable. I mean, replayable 2-player $20. That's right in my 30-minute time play. It's right in the wheelhouse of what I would say for a small game. What
I love is, in case of a tie, the players begrudgingly enjoy their shared victory.
Wow, I like that. Fine, we both win. Oh, jeez.
No, poof, you're out.
But that's stellar. That's a really
This is what I would definitely get.
Yeah, it was very good looking, and when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that looks nice. That looks very interesting. Now we're going from space to I guess it does involve some space, but to a much less degree. Something that's both love letter and not love letter. If you're familiar with love letter, it's basically a small game that the entire object is to score favors of a princess. You're basically you're trying to get your letter to the princess, and you're trying to use a network of people around the princess to secretly get the letter there, and it's a lot of high-low You have to keep one card in your hand. You draw a card, discard one of your 2 cards, and when a card is discarded, it has an effect. And you're trying to keep the highest point wins. I forget what happens in a tie. Anyway, there's a lot more. The game's fun. It's an interesting dynamic game of it. But this is Marvel Infinity Gauntlet Love Letter. Yeah.
Well, looking at it, it plays a lot like it.
Yes.
You still have the numbered cards. They still all have abilities. Like Iron Man, your teammates, you or a teammate may fight Thanos.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
So it's a one versus many twist.
Yeah.
One player takes the role of Thanos to try to get all the Infinity Stones. The other 1 to 5 players must play heroes to defeat him. So it's in the game, players take turns drawing cards and playing cards and executing them. The hero players can call on the likes of all the heroes, Marvel heroes, to the battle, gather intel, and their opponent's scheme worthy after Thanos, with a 2-card hand, drawing from his own deck of minions. So it's like, the Thanos player has his own deck, and the hero players have their own decks. You know, and Thanos.
I think the Thanos player gets less cards, basically, too.
Yeah, he's trying to get the six Infinity Stones. Because it's only there's 16 hero cards and 13 Thanos cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Heroes draw 1 card from the deck for their starting hand. Thanos has a 2-card hand, starting hand. You get power tokens, the life tracker. Thanos takes the first turn, and then play clockwise. You draw your card from your deck, and then sort of that draw and play, as it always has been, face up.
Yeah.
And you kind of defeat cards, lose cards, all that kind of stuff. There's fighting and all those things. Power tokens. What happens when the deck runs out? Thanos can rarely run out of his deck before he wins the game, but it can happen. The heroes could run out of it because there's multiple heroes, and therefore they're going through the deck more often. When Thanos runs out of life, the heroes win immediately. When the hero team runs out of life, Thanos wins, or if Thanos gets all Infinity Stones and does his snap, he wins too.
Snap!
And there's a 2-player game rules, but I'm not going to kind of go into details of those. The rules are available.
15-minute game, so quick and dirty.
It's got
$15.
Yeah, it's effectively a lot like normal Love Letter, except it's got that one versus many dynamic, which is not a bad thing to have in a game. I don't mind games like that. That's like because this is 1 to 5, 6 player, 2 to 6 players. I mean, because you have 1 to up to 5. Like it looks like they probably want like 3 or 4 versus Thanos, probably for best bets. But you know, I'm gonna guess. But like the 1 player / 5 player, you know, or kind of thing, probably can work too. You know, just for numbers of players.
Yeah.
Usually they have a specific amount, which is best. It's an interesting dynamic, and definitely like I can feel this is one of the things. It's very different, but I can still feel the Love Letter aspect to it. So it's a Love Letter style game with its own twist. And I think that's the important thing you're kind of going on about with this. It's got its own twist while it's a very stylized and same vein. You know, it's a lot different than like when people just put a fresh skin on a Monopoly. I feel this is more akin to like a Flux or a Munchkin, which when they have something, they go full tilt towards their topic. You know, it feels like it's a similar game, could be played very similarly, but it's its own thing. You know, with its own little details. So I think that's why I think it's very interesting, and it's a cool little thing that they put out there. If you're a fan of Marvel, and you know you have a group of people that want to do it, and a fan of Love Letter, it's a quick little game. So, we do have a couple more things to talk about, and the next one up is, of course, Fairy Tale Inn.
Come on.
Yes, it's by Come On Games. Of course. So we can
have to make the bad joke.
You had to make that bad joke. That is accurate. That is a normality for the bad jokes that you could make. I would make different bad jokes, which would probably be worse. So that's besides the point. So, this has been announced. It's going to be coming later on this year. We don't have an exact time frame yet. So it's basically like an idea that storybook characters for all of them are coming to town for a show. And you're staying at the Fairy Tale Inn. So, you know, it's the classic, like, you know, all the characters from all those storybook fantasies, you know. And you have to take turns ushering guests into enchanted rooms, gaining gold for your placements, and keeping the guests from fighting. Things like you don't want Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf next to each other. Or
the little pigs.
Yeah. And, like, you want to be the most successful innkeeper. But that's the problem is, like, you're sort of building the inn while trying to, like, be careful where you're placing things. And, you know, you might not always have the best spaces for it, and it's kind of like trying to judge and figuring out. It's quick, easy to learn game. Got very family-friendly nature, you know, because it's like things.
It's an interesting game board because it's like a Connect 4 board.
I'm pretty sure. I think it's only a 2-player game, though. I'm not sure. Because it might be like Connect 4 for 2 players. Because they say in Fairy Tale, like, 2 players try to earn the most gold coins by the end of the game.
2 players, so.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-player game. We had a lot of 2-player games today.
I know. Like, this is one that's like a 2-player game that I'm like, I would have liked it to have more just by the look of it, is the only thing. You know, it looks very interesting. We don't have a good price for it right now, so that's going to be the other big thing. But, like, wasn't, like, Connect 4 always, like, a 2-player game?
Yeah.
So I guess this is, like, advanced Connect 4.
Yeah. That's the way it seems. It's pretty much that. I wonder if the tiles that you're putting in the square holes are double-sided, and you have to also worry about where your opponent's putting people.
That's true. It's a hard thing to say, like, how it's set up.
Because that's what the board looks like it would be. So then you're also, you know, if someone puts the Big Bad Wolf and you want to place Red Riding Hood next, and they place it where you need to place Red Riding Hood, well...
Yeah. Well, you know, it's because I think the placement scores, rather than the final spot, it might be that they're just two-sided and each person can see the same side, so you're working off the same board. You know, you're building the same board, and it's like whoever gets the match first, or the connection first, gets the points. You know, and kind of builds them up.
But that's what I'm saying, is also you could end up accidentally screwing someone by, you know, you place something that would fight with something I'm going to place.
That's very true. I could definitely see that. No, it's an interesting take on, like, a classic concept of Connect 4. You know, advancing the rules to something that's actually a little complex. I don't mind that idea of taking, like, something that's more of akin to, like, a simple classic and updating it for more of a modern audience. And, like, a little fairy tale vernacular for, like, a little family-friendly, like, a little cutesiness isn't a bad idea. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting-looking game. It kind of stood out mainly for the artwork when I originally started looking into it. And so, you know, just because it's the entire idea of, like, a little fairy tale thing. So, I guess this is one to... I feel like this is one that I want to test out before committing. A little bit more. Like, certain games you can be like, oh, I get that. You know, that looks definitely cool. This is like a... I'd like to see how it plays out before...
Yeah, like Stellar, I definitely would... You know, that one I'd hop on. This one, I would want to try testing it first.
I want even, like, the rule book first, too. Like, Stellar, like, the rule book, everything in it sold us. This is, like, one of those ones that I'm not even sure the rule book would necessarily sell us.
Right.
Maybe if the rule book is really tight, might sell me, but, like, yeah. There's more information I would want before committing to this one. It does look interesting, and, like, if you're a fan of, like, something like a Connect 4, definitely this would be a game up your song, and it's a 2-player, so...
Yeah.
Now we do have one more main topic to handle. One that goes... And there's a
the theme itself doesn't sell me because I've never actually watched Friday the 13th.
Oh God, there's a billion of them.
Oh, I know there are. The only thing I've seen with him in it is Freddy versus Jason.
And that's like a classically like really bad but good.
Oh yeah, it's campy as hell.
Yeah, it's campy as hell, and it's supposed to be campy as hell, and it's like wonderful. Yeah. That kind of it's a wonderful campiness. Let me put it this way: I've seen a bunch of them. I didn't see them when I came out. I ended up seeing parts of like some marathons in the more recent years.
Yeah, I've just never been a huge horror. Fan.
It's like, oh God, what's a great way of describing it as a horror?
It's a slasher.
Slasher. It's a slasher, and slashers are.
I mean, I know about it.
Yeah,
but...
I'm not saying you don't know about it. Like, I'm saying like, it's a genre that I like can feel like it's a genre.
Yeah, but for the play aspect, I think it's interesting. Mm-hmm. You're trying to survive 5 nights at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
You're playing the counselors, which I have no idea who they are.
Well, the thing is, it's different characters every movie, is what I have to say first.
Right. I think this one's taking place on the first movie.
Technically, it would be the second movie, because this is a little crazy known fact. In the first movie, it was Jason's mom that was the killer.
I did hear something like that.
At the end of the movie, they hinted at he comes back from the dead then.
Okay.
That was like their little thing that led into then the second movie being him being the first killer. So it's probably really based on the second movie where it's like because like, I'm sorry, they never do anything with that first movie. Like the NES Friday the 13th game, which I had as a youngster because it was very cheap when I got it as part of like a bundle of games. It's very hard. NES Friday the 13th is awfully hard. But it is like normal Jason and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, it's Jason Voorhees hunting on the camp for counselor's blood, and you're trying to survive. Pretty like 5 nights of just survival. It's interesting, and like yesterday was Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
I think that's probably when they threw out this announcement. Of course they did.
Yeah. So you're trying to get supplies. You can steal supplies from other players. And just survive the 5 nights.
Yeah, it's a press your luck horror game. They don't have specific names. They're like stereotypes. Like there's a new nerd partier, the nice guy, the final girl, the diva, the jock. Uh-huh.
I'm the nice girl.
Uh-huh. The nice guy, you mean. The nice guy and final girl will get together, so nice guy will get murdered. Because of course, as soon as drugs or sex get you killed in any of these slasher movies, instantaneously.
Well, that kind of makes sense because you're not paying attention to your surroundings then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they like never know that's happening until it's too late anyway. That's how it always is. You collect various items for combinations of points and additional fear cards for ways to escape the attacks against you. It's about having strategy and the supplies basically to survive for those 5 nights. And of course, you can steal from your friends, go to your cabin. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, you have to wait and find out. You can wait out the nights to be the last one. I don't know if it's just like there is only one winner and last one standing, or if like, everybody could win because it's the idea of frenemies.
Yeah. It seems to me that it could be you could have multiple winners.
Yeah,
it's whoever's standing at the end of the 5 nights would be.
Yeah, and I think you could like
unless they have a point system.
There might be point system for like ultimate winner. I don't know.
Yeah, like maybe health or something.
And like it's also like betrayal might save you kind of thing too.
Yeah. Well, like there's a card that says you can go first.
Yeah. So it is $30, and it's adding to like Usaopoly does some horror, like more horror themed stuff. I mean, we saw that they had like at least one decent looking It game when we're talking about their collection of It games.
Yeah.
Other than Monopoly and Clue, was it too? Oh, God. Memories.
Monopoly. I own the sewer.
Usaopoly, like, flashbacks of, like, it was like, why did they make this? Ah!
I own the sewer. Everyone floats down here.
You might have to get all 4 sewers to own the sewer. Like, getting all 4 railroads. Sewer entrances to own the sewer. You have to get all 4 sewer entrances. Come on. You'll all float down here. I mean... I think this is when Usaopoly's at its best. When they, like, actually do a decent theme on a game.
Yeah, and it's not just Monopoly.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that they have their monopolies, and I don't argue with having, like, this monopoly and that monopoly, because that seems to be, like, a tradition. So, like, when I didn't mind when we talked about the weird monopolies, and being like, yeah, these are kind of weird that they're putting them out, like, in this time period, but neat.
I mean, there's a monopoly for everything anymore.
That's the point. So yeah, it's a 3 to 6 player game, 60 minutes to play, 17 plus they say. Because, I mean, you are getting horribly murdered.
And it's based off a horror franchise.
Yeah.
So it's adult themes.
Yeah. God.
So it makes sense.
It certainly does. Yeah. Man. It'd be interesting to try it out. And $30 is not a bad price for a game.
No.
So, but that's our basic grouping of stuff to talk. The main stuff to talk about today. Let's go deeper into our regular segments then. So, as if you are aware, or if you're not aware, we have a number of regular segments that we hit on after we go through our news of the week. The first one we have is our deeper discussion, which if we've played a game that we can review, we will dive deeper into it to review it more. We don't have one for you this week.
Sorry.
So, just the situation, well, we didn't meet last week in physical person. That's when we normally, every Saturday evening, if we have a chance to meet, sometimes we do our reviews then. Do you have something for Kickstarter Korner?
I got something here.
Like, I have to say again, like, this week I had, like, I do have something to shout out on Kickstarter Korner that's coming soon. So let me get that information while you do yours.
Okay. So I found an interesting little thing. It's a modular board game organizer without any assembly tools.
Interesting.
So it's a board game shelving unit, but you can also, the nice part is, use it as, it has a game top on it too. So you can use it as a gaming table. It even has cup holders and everything that can attach. And it's basically, it has a magnetic top, and it's just pieces that you can arrange in different ways, build shelves in it, and you can build it any way, which way you feel appropriate. Simple idea, but I thought it was kind of nice. Especially for people who want something but don't have the room for like a giant gaming table, you can build it up the way you want it. Or like if you're like me and just have a crap ton of board games and want to store them in an easier manner, you can do that with this too. They have 25 days ago, they have 17 backers. They have $2,628 out of their $12,000 goal.
Ooh.
Only thing is, they are a little expensive.
Mm.
Like the cheapest pledge is $78, and you get one box of the shelving system, which has 8 pieces of 13-inch racks, 4 pieces of 27-inch, 8 connector pieces, 6 shelf pieces. And it also includes... No, that's it. It doesn't matter. See, and then you can get add-ons. They go all the way up, though, to $518 but that's also 60 a total of 100, various size racks, 60 connectors, and 60 shelves. So that would be one hell of a huge area.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was an interesting little shout out. You can create your own gaming table with it. You can create just shelving stuff. So it's not a bad investment. And since you don't need tools and stuff, you can take it apart and take it somewhere if need be too. So it's easy, for moving and everything.
Cool.
And they offer various different looking tops and everything. So that's cool.
Yeah, very cool. I'm going to give a preliminary shout out to something that I will talk about it when it starts on Kickstarter, but some friends of mine online who Will, Ollie, Dungeon Dad, who I've done some tabletop stuff, Civ stuff with, D&D with. I've done stuff with them before. They've basically started their own little company and are going to be kickstarting something starting April.
Oh.
Yes. They basically have made a... because it just revealed, it's a miniatures combat board game. I always knew that Ollie was big into things like Warhammer. He loves painting Warhammer miniatures because he's an artist. The background stuff we have now was made by Ollie a lot of years ago that we keep using now, the little frames and stuff. So that's why I've always, I always shout him out in all of my videos. If you ever look in the description, Ollie's shouted out because a lot of the artwork I have actually gotten through him too. Like on Twitch, my icons are made by him. But yeah, their game's going to be starting out in April. Schism Immolation of Orinthfer. They have a trailer that they've put up on YouTube. It's a game based in the D&D setting that Ollie basically created. Ollie has his own D&D setting, that the World of Yardaskar, that he developed himself, and they made a tabletop miniature board game based on that. I'm excited to see more of it. I'm giving a shout out to it now. I'll give a shout out to it probably when it starts out, definitely, because they're all good pals of mine and they do some good work and it's really cool. There was one... I think there was one other Kickstarter that I wanted to say because I saw it, but I'm forgetting it probably because I forget lots of things. So if people tell me stuff online, I should remember for Saturday, and I don't. Like, I think I forgot to say, like, for last week when we talked about PAX East, the Wrath of Righteous Kickstarter was ending pretty soon. I ended up backing it, so I mean, I threw it in because I want to play that. So, but it ended on Wednesday. I think I talked about it a little bit again on Tuesday when I did my. If you missed that, I had like a video game discussion show with Liz the Bard and Jinx Jams, and we had a real good time talking all the video games and stuff that we saw at PAX East. So it's archived on the channel here. I might put it up onto YouTube. I might. I don't know. I've been thinking about it, but it is like a little off kilter for our normal thing.
Right.
But moving away from Kickstarter Korner, because that was really one of our things, we have our week in tabletop. So this is a normal segment that we have where we talk about all the day's tabletop things that we've done over the week. So, yeah, E3, God. I'm going to be surprised how the conventions post-summer are going to go. Like PAX West. I'm not going to PAX West this year. I might want to go a year or two in the future just to see that one, too, now that I've been to East. But,
right.
E3,
yeah, we've been to East, South, and Unplugged.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, like South, unless I know people are going to that one, I don't think I'll go again. That's kind of how it is. Because it was a bad time. It's just like, I would want to go with people. Just
right.
Like East, I can probably convince people to come with me if I say it long ahead of time.
Right.
Unplugged, we're going to anyway, so.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah. So, RIP conventions. I'm going to see how things post-summer are going to be. I'm curious about how Unplugged's going to be, how things shape up by then. I think it'll be fine. You know, that's far enough in the future.
Yeah, I would hope the coronavirus isn't still a major threat in...
Well, most people will have either been sick or not sick by then, I think, at this point in time, how it spreads.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would think by November we should be in the clear.
Yes. But anyway, this week, so we had a number of interesting things that happened this week. I think we started with grinding gears.
Yes, you checked out some of the desert. Learned that the planet you're on is had been irradiated a long time ago and is pretty much just all desert.
And we totally understood what radiation meant.
You learned that there's multiple planets out there.
Yeah, that was a weird one. There are things in the
stars? That is like boggling your guys' mind.
Well, again, like, when we realized that we're on, like, a pocket universe, we're like, look, you know, it doesn't surprise me as much. We've been living in a tiny bubble.
Yeah.
You know, whatever someone has made look like the outside world is a total trick to us. There could be anything. I think if we had been on, like, an actual planet, we would probably be a lot more mind-boggled for it than people who were, like, lied to for all our lives. You know, because of that, I think we have this, like, oh, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah. You have been exploring Fedor's mastership.
Yeah.
And found some interesting little thwirls that you learn can drain energy from technology.
And
but aren't very dangerous in general.
You have to work on some of your improvisation because you didn't deal with Tiv enough. I was talking with Unfunny One and Lightning, and we were like, you know, we understood you don't have that developed as much yet because you don't have the, you know, experience. But like, we're like, this is what you could have done. And I'm like, I might not have done that either, but I could have also been like, see, I would have been a dick and be like, it collapses and gets stuck, breaking, or like, Unfunny One's like, it was filled with sand under there.
Yeah, I was tired, and I just did not have something planned for people trying to destroy the elevator. And well, also, I think I need to change my focus a little bit. I've been focused on doing a lot of maps, and that kind of also limits me. Maps
limit you. You should have maps, but prepared for them. Like, I prepared a map that I knew I was going to use at some point in time, but I didn't know which of the encounters I was going to use it for. I've ended up, like, for Wrath. That is the first map I prepared in a while. I'm using that for the clone, which we'll talk about in a minute, but that particularly, I could have used that for other places, too.
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to start doing is more Theater of the Mind.
Yeah.
And only bring out maps when it might be more more of a necessity to have them instead of just having maps for everything.
Complex dungeons, a map helps, and complex encounters. So anything that seems very complex, I would say a map for. Other stuff, screw it. You know, like
like I didn't need one for the desert really. I could have just described everything.
Yep. Some of the early encounters, I think that's been my
Yeah, I think that's been my problem. Was I was very well. The early encounters weren't as big of a deal because I had a general map for the entire
town map
city.
Was good. Town map was
so
good.
When you guys had to do stuff in the town or fight something in town, it wasn't bad to have.
Oh no.
You know, that was one map that I was able to use
efficiently
for a long time. But now that we're going to be exploring more, I have to do more Theater of the Mind and just work on more ideas.
Yes.
And concentrate on being more versatile than, hey, I need something to display to everyone. Because I was trying to do it more for
display.
Well, it also gives the audience something to look at instead of just a blank screen and just us.
Well, again, like, it's the imagination part of it. And I think, like...
Yeah.
I can be
very good at that. It's just I have been relying too much on trying to do maps.
Like, there are certain maps, like, I would say like, the dungeons that we explored. Those maps, those aren't bad. Like, the Fedora's Workshop, inside the ship, those maps are not bad maps, necessarily, to have. Are they critical? No. Did I think they detracted? Also no. They were in this kind of, like, middle ground of, like, well, you know, they're fine to have. You know, and it's the same thing that you could say for certain other maps. Like, the desert map, I think, was one of those ones that I definitely could say is, like, we didn't need that one.
Yeah, we didn't need it. The inside Fedora's ship, we haven't really needed.
It wasn't complex enough that we needed it. I felt like inside his workshop, like the tech workshop,
because there was traps and everything else. Yes, that was one that I needed to have mapped out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can see some things in the future that I will need to, but I think I need to stop relying on being so visual and actually just do more theater and concentrate on, you know. Because
when you have theater of the mind, sometimes that helps you to not limit yourself to getting stuck in something. I think, like, when you have a map, sometimes it's hard to do that, especially when you have big things planned out. That's why even now when I use maps, I come up with lately I've come up with incredibly loose notes, just because I'm like, I want to be able to improvise most of this, because if I'm improvising it to begin with, that means I'm more attuned to correcting what the players are doing.
Yeah, and I you know, also it's been a long time since I ran a campaign.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing too. I think you're doing pretty good. I think this session went well. I think, again, like, we could see that there was some hitches, but they weren't major hitches. They were hitches that we could work with. There's other things, too, that I realize, things that I still work on, that I can, like, give you advice on. Things like watching out for downtime, for, like, quiet time. You want to avoid that, but sometimes it just happens by incident. Like, I was watching a little bit of one of my Records of Evil, and there was, like, a blank time, and then I realized while I was watching it, it's because I was waiting for a dice roll, and Roll20 was being a bitch. Roll20 wasn't having the dice roll right, so everybody was kind of like quietly waiting for it, and it's like, well, shit. But it was like a good, like,
sometimes it's also good to just have your dice around you as an emergency of, okay, Roll20's not responding, I'm just going to roll this.
Okay, tell me your bonus.
Here's what it is.
Yeah, that might be good to have on emergency if Roll20 is having problems. But it was only like a 20-second wait, but it's still like, it's quiet for 20 seconds, you know, and you don't necessarily want any kind of quiet time. And it's trying to work through that a little bit, too. There's, like, things up and downs in games that you have to, like, worry about, especially because you're putting on both a show for your, as a DM, you're putting on shows for players and an audience. And that's kind of like you're putting on two acts at once.
Yeah, it's one thing. It's one thing when you have downtime when it's just a personal game. It's another also when you're streaming.
And that can go for players too. Like, definitely, I think, like, Tiv he gets bored, he gets distracted if you're not careful with him. And Blaze is a very quiet person. Like me, Unfunny One, and Lightning, we're very good at keeping things going on our level, but, like, the other two,
some people need some prodding, or you need to keep up the pace, or it.
Yeah, Tiv is a very good player. It's just that he does weird things when he gets bored out of game. It's the problem.
Right. Anyway, on to your stuff.
On to my stuff. I had 2 of my games this week because I ended up needing to cancel Legacies of Kain because my brother was sick with an actual sickness. We're pretty sure this time that he was sick, it was food poisoning. Because he was drinking very old orange juice, and then he decided to pour it out, and it had chunks in it, like, a couple days after he's sick, and he's like, this might have been in there back when I was drinking it. Like, different than normal chunks of orange juice, you know?
Yeah.
So I had to take my niece to an appointment that she had on Tuesday afternoon, and by the time I was going to get back, and even if I just picked up food somewhere, it would have been like 3:30, and I was like, nah, we're not doing an hour-and-a-half session. That's if we're lucky. So I instead had a nice afternoon where I took my niece out somewhere, which was pretty dead, but as a story in and of itself, which I'm going to save for another time. Anyway, we had Records of Evil, which was fun. Records of Evil was interesting because I've got them on a boat ride with a Chul as a boat captain and Cholt. Yeah, the big lobster guy with the tentacle mouth, and it's comical a little bit because it's got a cell phone that it like controls with the tentacles that like it has text to speech.
God.
And then it's got a troll as his like first mate and the only other person on the boat. So they arrange to travel to this lake, and then they learn that there's a small river that, because it's very cross jungle to get to where they need to be, the river, if they follow it, it's a little longer, it's like a day longer, but it will be less time just crossing straight jungle. So they'll be on the riverboat all like another like 6 days, and only have to like forge through the forest for 2 days instead of like a 6-day trek through jungle and cliff faces and stuff. So they're like, we'll stick on the boat. Because they're like, we can go fishing at this local lake that's hidden in the jungle there that we know that we can get some fish in and come back with, other than your money. And then, like, a gnome showed up that was a professor who is basically a documentarianism person that's doing a documentary. He's really, like, looking for some kind of, like, rose that has medicinal purposes, because he's a guy who does studies medicine and botany. But he's also, they're putting on a documentary with a gnome film crew. And they described him as, which was really great, and I love that one of my players said, it reminds him of, from the animated Tarzan movie, the Professor Father. Just gnome-sized. And I'm like, yes, there you go, that's him now. So, like, they're putting on a film crew kind of thing, and now they've decided to, like, explore a hidden like a ruined Yuan-ti city along the way, which is just a little bit out of the way. And I'm like, sure, this sounds like a great idea. It's supposed to be, like, cursed and stuff. And the film crew's like, we'll go get some footage. And they're like, we'll go check it out. And I'm like, cool. Side quest on your main quest here. That sounds great. Your bone naga will stay on the boat. It's been sitting on the front of it. Because they're trying to get a bone naga to a city of Yuan-ti to get them to murder a bunch of them. I know. It's just like really like they're basically going in the middle of Amazon to like kill a bunch of tribesmen. It's the best way to describe it. Is it comparable? They're going to the middle of the Choltian jungle to kill a bunch of Yuan-ti tribespeople around like an old temple that they took over like 1,000 years ago. It's crazy.
Stop killing the indigenous people.
No, they're doing it because they need an amulet that summons devils. In a modern day where there isn't many very powerful magic items around anymore, most magic items are like general purpose magic items, or like a couple of like, I would say things that like 10th level people would have. But really powerful ancient objects just don't exist anymore. In a thing where magic still is there, but it's usually in the side thing. Like, as I said, like, I described it like hospitals usually will have one magic user on staff for emergency purposes, like, this person needs, like, some healing or they're gonna die, kind of thing. They're, like, in the emergency room. Normal healing is just medical science. You don't have as many people studying magic. But anyway, so that was that game, and it was very fun, and I like it. And they don't know that I'm totally... I've got some plans that, like, if there's going to be a reference in it, and think of your own reference for Amazon River boat cruise. There is a couple of various, like, movies that can reference it, and I'm going to come up with, like, I've got a plotline idea that's going to reference one of those, and I'm excited how many people guess it when it happens. But it'll be fun. And I will be surprised if the players notice what I'm doing. It'll be fun. It won't be long when they get to the city, I'm pretty sure. The city, like, so there's going to be a couple more sessions in Cholt, I think, at this rate time. Just because I came up with a cool idea, and it was a fun one. And then we had Children of Wrath.
Yes!
You headed to Vesuva, and got in some combat. Twice.
Because someone wanted to be curious about something crying.
And it turns out that it's like I guess like a mating call of this like weird squirrel creature that lives there that kind of sounds like a, you know, it's like a, you know.
It's like, we've been warned of weird things in this area.
Nothing is supposed to be what it seems like. So of course the squirrels mating cry sounds like crying, you know?
Yeah, it's like, let's not explore anything like that. Let's stay away from things until we get to the center of the island.
And it turns out the squirrel was really like a...
tentacle monster.
Well, it was... I took an Othyog and changed it a little bit to make it like a chameleon Othyog. I basically gave it like... combined a chameleon with it, so it has like... It can technically... It went invisible. It can go invisible. It has chameleon skin, which increases... Which all I said with that is it's got slightly higher AC than your average Othyog. It only has 2 tentacles, but it's got a 3rd tongue tentacle, which is harder to escape. And it doesn't do as much damage as its normal tentacles, but basically then it can draw it into its mouth. So yeah. So... Yeah, it caught someone, and the end of the tongue kind of it uses illusions that it can basically, like a minor illusion, to make it look like an actual animal, while the rest of it's invisible. But, like, if you look at it, it kind of has a shape of, like, a little animal at the end of the tongue. So it's an angler.
Yeah.
Small rodent angler most of the time, but it will eat bigger prey if it can get it.
And now got to the point we're about to face our doppelgangers for all those who failed their charisma saves.
Most of you failed it by a bunch, while a few of you failed it by very little.
Yes.
And then Maxwell and Radiant made it. Which Radiant's very good to have here, because yes, but the problem is only one of them has been identified. Your evil clone has been identified.
Yes, which I'm happy about, but... It's going to be interesting to see how everything else shakes down. Especially barbarian on barbarian fight.
Yes. Especially barbarian.
But also,
barbarian.
Max has been very good because he finally was able to use his mental mind reading abilities to be useful and not detrimental to us.
Yep. I mean,
that's how they found out which one of me was the clone.
And he made and it failed its save, and he made some successful checks, so
yes.
He was able to tell the difference. It was.
It also worked thematically though, because Max and I know each other for how many hundreds of years?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, of course he'll be able to figure out which one of me is me.
But the thing is, they're supposed to have all your abilities, all your memories and stuff. Right. They're supposed to be like It's supposed to mimic the ability of the Mirror of Opposition.
Right.
Except
no, I figured that.
It's technically slightly lesser because they are a little easier to defeat. They're not as deadly, so it's like a lesser Mirror of Opposition, but it still is pretty tough to face things that have mostly your abilities and stuff. And mimic your abilities and maybe just like a little less health or stuff, Things like that make it like it's gonna be an interesting encounter, and I feel like we're going to finish off Vesuva probably next time, depending on how things go. I feel like it's gonna finish up, and you'll get back to the main storyline, because I know that I hinted at the main storyline earlier, and you've kind of been on this journey now, and the journey has been all about trying to like cement your characters together. There's like your first couple of chapters where you get that hint of it, and then you kind of like go on a journey together. But you should be getting more hints of the main storyline relatively soon, and kind of where you're going in the end.
I'm interested to see if I find any information on myself while we're in Vesuva.
That'll be an interesting thing, because like you are a different type of shape changer than they are, for sure.
Right. But I might gain some insight.
You might gain insight. That's true. That's not something I can argue against, that with the situation as it is, you definitely might gain insight into what's going on.
Hence is why I was interested in going here.
Yeah. Nope.
That, and also Shape Changer could deal with something with that shadow guy that we ran into early on.
You don't know a lot about that shadow guy, and there was some people on your team that could have known about it that failed their checks early on.
Yeah.
So, like, and it's not a problem for you. That's the thing, is that why I didn't, like, make it easier, or you're going to know it automatically, because it's not necessarily a problem that you don't know about it. And that's one of those information things that I always have to watch out for, is, like, when you need to be revealed and when it's okay for you to fail. because it will eventually be revealed. That's another thing that I like in discussions I've learned about through talking with Unfunny One is like you have to be careful about that with information. Like checks are a thing that you should only use when it's appropriate. When it makes
right, because if it's something they really need to know and it's going to screw up the game that they don't, then that's going to be a detriment if you're just relying on the checks and go, oh, no one got it. Well, you don't know this.
Nope. And it's not a problem just because it kind of almost thematically makes sense that you don't know about it to a degree too.
Right.
I think I had Max roll for it. Max might have known something, but Max is old and doesn't remember everything because he's like, for a couple of 100 years old. Why would he remember everything?
Yeah.
He probably encountered something long ago. You to a degree, maybe. I don't think I had you roll necessarily because I think.
And even if you did, my mind is so freaking jumbled with all the people in it.
Yeah. So
it's like there's a chance I know something just because have several different lifetimes in my head, but I don't even remember all of them.
Yep. So it's definitely very interesting for how things are developing. And again, I do have some plans to get you into the main storyline. And, the thing is, it's been a long journey. And, between now and when you... because you have been heading towards Benalia and Talaria West. And when you get to those places, you'll finally get into, the main story. That's been the journey that you've been kind of going on. And now, granted, a couple of sessions, maybe per place, kind of visiting and adventures happening at each of these locations. But I think they've been fun adventures, showcasing the world you've been in. And, you've developed things. You made an ally in Radiant. You've been kind of being friends with Nim. And Nim might be someone helpful along the way deep in the future. Right now, it's hard to say.
Yeah. And we've gotten drugs. Lots and lots of drugs.
Look, again, I used appropriate numbering for
I'm not saying you didn't. It's ridiculous. At least we're not going to have to go on another drug quest anytime soon. That's what makes me happy about it.
That's the other reason I did it that way too. I was like, we're just going to get through this and be like, it's gone, it's done.
Yeah, it's like you have a lot of supply now. Stop asking.
You're good. But yep. So
that catches us up with everything, I believe.
I think that catches us up with everything for our week in tabletop. It's again been a very interesting week. Not a bad one, but definitely one that we've gotten through. So I think our final segment is Ask the Tabletop, where you can come and ask us questions. Now, granted, this segment here is more to advertise you can ask us questions, but if you're in chat here, or you've asked us a question somewhere that we feel like is appropriate to answer here, we're going to bring it up. But this is, you can email us at discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. You can reach us on Discord. My link to my Discord channel is down below. You can either then put something in there, or message us directly, either of us. Twitter, at Dracovin for me, which is above me, at JWSeeker81 for Joe. In the description of this, the comments of this YouTube video when it becomes a YouTube video, or just, again, directly to me in some way. So there's a lot of ways to reach us. But anyway, yeah, I think that's our show for today. So, thanks everyone out there who joined us today for Discussing Tabletop. We had a great, interesting number of topics to talk about. We should be back next week to continue our adventures and talking about it. If you're looking for more tabletop-related things, Children of Wrath is going to be next week on Thursday, but both the games on Tuesday are canceled. Jess is going to be traveling and won't be able to play, and as they are 3-player games, when one person's down, we don't play them. I really should at least add one more player to Records of Evil. Been working on it. Got to work on it some more. And unfortunately, Legacies of Kain, I've been kind of holding out hope for 2 other people to return and just haven't done that. So, maybe I'll try to recruit someone for some of those things at some point in time. Who knows? We'll see. But for now, those 2 shows aren't on this week. And you'll just have to enjoy Children of Wrath on Thursday. So, in the meantime, have yourself a great rest of your Saturday. Stay safe and healthy. Just remember, don't just try to keep away from touching your face. Wash your hands a lot if you're going out. And if you are sick, get checked out by a doctor. Just make sure it's everything okay and it's not getting dangerous. And if it is something like corona, keep yourself quarantined away from people as much as you can. You know, maybe get some help delivering delivering groceries or something if you can. And just, you know, keep safe, keep healthy, and have a good rest of your week, everybody. So,
Bye.
Bye.